All right, Shalom elect. Now this particular lesson and presentation is going to deal with the basically our foundation for all things Israel, and that is what the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary set forth as when it told us that Ham was the progenitor of the dark races, but not the Negroes. Well, of course, by virtue of my research, I was able to uncover and discover that the Negroes are the Bantus. So all Bantus worldwide are Negroes and Israelites. Yes, you heard me right. Now, this particular presentation, we're going to look at DNA data. Okay, we're going to look at Bantu DNA contribution to the African Lemba gene pool, right? Proving conclusively that they too are our brothers, Israelite brothers and sisters, and unscrupulous men trying to hide behind this this false haplogroup J1 thing is just that, it's false. And so this particular lesson is going to deal with a couple of things, but it's going to look at the differences between the Hamites and the Negroes, and yeah, this is going to be a really good one. So kick back, get something to snack on, something to drink, and you know how to do this. Dr. Ephraim, let's get it. To many of you who may not be, or have never heard the term Bantu, or Bantu speaking people and the like, I thought it was important to go ahead and just kind of establish, and when I say that, I don't use that in terms of being exclusive from them, because basically we're all quote unquote Bantus, okay? And the reason why we all get that distinction is because the Bantus got the distinction of being Negroes per the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. So from that perspective, essentially we're all Bantus because we're all Negroes and all E1B1A. So yeah, I thought it was important to let's go into the history a little bit, about the Bantus, who they are, and kind of what they're about, and when this Bantu expansion took place. And we'll find out, you guys will see as I go on, they get real muffled and iffy with the timeline in terms of the expansion that allegedly took place between 3,500 and 4,000 years ago, in Western and Southern Africa. But see, here's the small problem we have with that, though. They get real murky, basically, because my thing is, okay, where were they before the 3,500 years, 4,000 years, right? And you really can't find that. It gets real murky about, oh, we're not really sure, this and that, and, this, that, and the third. And it's because, and the reason why I say that is because, yeah, let's say 4,000 years. That's the general number I hear a lot in terms of this Bantu expansion, right? Here's the one thing, though. The Bantu's Y DNA haplotype precedes those DNA tribes by more than 30,000 years. And that's a small problem. What do I mean by that? To the layman, basically, if they're saying that the Bantus expanded 4,000 years ago, okay, they had to have started somewhere else, because their DNA is much, much older than the people that they met there in Western and Southern Africa and things like that. And it gets real murky. But anyway, let's get into it. And these are our people, the Bantus, the Negroes. Black South Africans were at times officially called Bantu by the apartheid regime. The term Bantu is derived from the word for people, common to many of the Bantu languages. Oxford Dictionary of South African English describes its use in a racial context as abolescent and offensive because of its strong association with white minority rule and the apartheid system. Interesting. I actually never knew that. However, Bantu, quote unquote, is used without pejorative connotations in other parts of Africa. Okay, I could see that. We're pretty much just like kind of like with the term nigger. We take something and adopt it and make it our own thing. Where it's supposed to be negative. I mean, I don't say that word, but I'm just using the comparison. I guess they kind of took what Bantu was supposed to be an offensive word, and our brothers and sisters took it and just made it their own and made it not a bad word. Okay, I can see that. Let's go on to the next segment dealing with the history. All right, and moving right along to the history. It said at some stage after Tertiary dispersal period, a settlement at Great Zimbabwe was established as the capital of a trading empire. Around this time, there's evidence of coastal trading with Arabs, with the Southeast Asian region, and even with China. As the southern groups of Bantu speakers migrated southwards, two main groups emerged: the Nguni, Xhosa, Zulu, Ndebele, and Swazi, who occupied the eastern coastal plains, and the Soho Tsana, who lived on the interior plateau. The two language groups have diverged and differ on certain key aspects, especially in the sound systems. Now, y'all please forgive me on the pronunciation. Some of these words, to my Bantu brothers, I'm doing the best I can. I'm actually reading this on the fly, so hopefully I'm not butchering it too bad, or and you guys can understand what I'm coming from. Now, you guys can always pause this, and read it yourself. Let's go down here. It says from the late 18th and early 19th centuries, there were two major areas of frictional contact between the white settlers and the Bantu speakers in southern Africa. Firstly, as the Bears moved north inland from the Cape, they encountered the Xhosa, or the Xhosa, the Basato, and the Tsana. Secondly, attempts at large coastal settlements were made by the British. Oh, they go to British in Xhosa territory, now the Eastern Cape. Man, the British wasn't everything, was they? Man, they was something else. Wow. Sorry about that little sidebar. And in Zululand, now KwaZulu-Natal. At the time, KwaZulu-Natal was populated by dozens of small Zulu-speaking clans. In 1816, Shaka acceded to the Zulu throne. At that stage, the Zulu were merely one of the many clans. Within a relatively short period of time, he had conquered his neighboring clans and had forged the Zulu into the most important ally of the large Manethwa clan, which was in competition with the Ndandwe clan for domination of the northern part of modern-day KwaZulu-Natal. By many accounts, Shaka used ruthless military force against his opponents, often adopting a scorched earth policy to destroy or displace civilian populations. Wow. You've heard all the, seen some of the stories and heard all the great things about how great Shaka Zulu was. What a lot of people didn't know and still don't know today is that the Zulus are Hebrew Israelites. And I made a post on them about 2 months ago. Some writer went over there and they were doing some type of Zulu chant or something like that, and they just all of a sudden just started shouting hallelujah, hallelujah. And he said he was just bugged out. He was like, wow, like where'd they get that from? And me, I was like, that's their spirit crying out. But yeah, there's a healthy dose of Hebrew Israelites, Negroes over there. If you look at the Zulus, I have some pictures of them. If you look at them, they look like Negroes. They look nothing like, they look, Hamites. As a matter of fact, they look like some of the homies just over there playing Africans, So, but yeah, they're definitely Hebrew Israelites, and a couple of those other Southern Africa clans that they named also have a heavy dose of E1, B1A, Hebrew Israelites within those clans as well. You all have to remember, though, too, the reason why, we're so mixed in, because again, all these different, so-called African clans that we're a part of, even with Bantu, these are our secondary nations because, we were mixed into these nations. Okay, even going out to the, like Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic, Haiti, Jamaica, all these different provinces and islands and countries, and, because we disconnected and discontinued from our heritage. So, all of these different names, tribal and different country-based names and stuff like that, they're all secondary, my people, because they're not our true, it's not our true nations. All of them are secondary. And what makes the so-called African Americans, a little different is because we have three nations. America, where we were enslaved at, the nation we came to slavery from Africa, and Israel. And if any of you, notice in the Bible, in the Torah, or just in the Bible, period, you notice that it refers to the people that inhabit, certain lands. Like if the Hamitic Africans that possessed Canaan at the time, they were called Canaanites, right? And you were referred to by the land you possessed, or the nation, right? And there was a reason for that, because it was an identity, a nationality, right? And so that being said, not trying to be funny or mean or anything like that, but there's a clear distinction in the features, in Hamites and Negroes, or seeds of Jacob, and it has nothing to do with how dark the skin is or nothing like that, or how some people say, oh, all black people look alike. That's a bunch of mess. No, we don't. There are some very dark skinned brothers and sisters, but they look like Negroes. And I said this for a long time. I don't know if it's a gift or whatever the case may be, but I can pick out a Hamite among a bunch of Negroes. I just can. There's something very distinct about their look. You could tell that we're from two different nations. We look nothing alike. Same thing with the Ethiopians and Somalians. They're both Hamites as well, and they have very distinct looks. Now, going back to what I said earlier, yes, we all came from Eber, the whole haplogroup E, but haplogroup E split, and society would have you believe that when it split, E1B1B became the so-called Jews, and E1B1A is the Africans. No, that's false. That is completely false, and I'm showing and proving that. I'm going to continue to show and prove that. E1B1A is the Shemitic line. Okay, E1B1B is the Hamitic line. All right, and as you can see here from this picture, here's this Bantus sister. She's a Negro. The sister before that, she was a Hamitic sister. And as you can see, I don't know if I can teach you all to just know the difference, but there's a clear, distinct physical difference between a Hamite and a Shemite, or a Negro, right? And again, I'm not trying to be funny or pit us against them type situation. No, I'm just trying to teach that there is a difference, because they've always tried to lump on us, all black people from Africa, all y'all the same. Look, see these sisters here, these are Negro sisters, these are Bantus. These look like the home girls. I mean, come on, you can look at them. Look at their features. They look nothing like Hamites, right? Just look at them, And so I'm just in the spirit of teaching and knowing that there is a difference in the seeds. There is a difference in the nation. Here's a Hamite, right? There is a difference in our features. I remember, I'm going to share the story with you all. I had a friend of mine, and she said before she met me, she gave it it stumped her for a long time, but she said she had a African friend, and it worked with her. And, she knew nothing about, being a Hebrew, Israelite, anything like that. And she said that they were joking one day, and she told him jokingly, "Oh, nigga, please." And she said when she told him that, the African, that, he got real serious and indignant. He says, no, I am not a Negro. He says, you are a Negro. I am an African. I am not a Negro. You are the Negro. You were the slave. And she said she was looking at him like she didn't know what to say. She was stumped, and then she just, because she didn't know what to say or how to respond, she just said, "Oh boy, whatever," and waved it off. But she told me, and she admitted to me, that when he said that to her, she was like, almost couldn't sleep behind him telling her that, because she didn't understand what he was talking about when he told her that she was the Negro and she was the slave. She was like, what? But I shared that story with you all to say this. A lot of Hamitic Africans, they know the story of who we are and the fact that we're from two separate nations. Okay, it's a fallacy that Africans sold other Africans into slavery. That is false. So-called Africans sold Hebrew Israelites into slavery, but because we were all dark or black, whatever you want to call it, they just lumped us all together, saying all Africans sold other Africans. No, look at these brothers. I think these brothers are Igbos. They're Negroes. Look at them. Look at their features. right? Look at their features. I mean, it's clear. The distinction is clear, you know, between a Negro and a Hamite, or Shemite and a Hamite, right? Look at this brother here. His features are pronounced, man. This brother is a Hamite. I mean, like I said, I can pick a Hamite out. You know, this brother's a Ham. Look at his features. You know, and kind of resembles like the Kimbe Mutombo, right? And because they got that kind of, you know, Hamitic look or whatever. You know, no disrespect to the brother, but I'm just trying to point out that, you know, the features are different. So yeah, I wanted to share that with you all. You know, give you a, you know how I do. I like to give a you know, a nice visual, you know, with my presentations. And I think these, you know, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, I agree. You know, because clearly we come in all different shades of black. So don't think it's about a skin color. We come in all different shades. Negroes do. But there's something, we have clear, distinct facial characteristics and patterns from the other nations from haplogroup E. And in that, there's no doubt. You can't mistake a Negro for an Ethiopian, right? You can't mistake a Negro or a Bantu for a Somalian. See, here's a Somalian brother right here. Clearly, he's, you know, he's got dark skin, whatever the case may be. But look at his features. You cannot mistake him for a Negro. You just can't. And again, it has nothing. He's fairly dark skinned, right? But it has nothing to do with his complexion, right? You can't mistake him for a Negro, but he's still quote unquote black, right? So I hope y'all kind of, you know, getting me here. Beautiful Bantu Negro sister right here. You know, you're not going to mistake her for a Somalian. You know, you're not going to mistake her for an Ethiopian. You're just not. You know, you look at her, at least I can, and I see beautiful, you know, Bantu Negro woman. You know, straight up. All right. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of change it up a little bit, give you some nice visuals. Here you go. You know, nice looking Hamite sister. You know, but clearly she's a Hamite. You know, she's a medic, right? Beautiful, smile, complexion, everything smooth. But she's a Hamite. She's not. I'm not going to take her for a Negro. See, this dark-skinned sister here. She's dark-skinned, but clearly she is a Negro. So again, it has nothing to do with complexion. Everything to do with features and characteristics. And Hamites and Negroes are from two different nations, two different bloodlines, and we look nothing alike. On to the next segment. Okay, getting right back to the history of the Bantu. We're going to round this out and get into the next segment, which will be the DNA segment. And like I said, I'm going to go over the whole Lemba thing again and deal with the Bantu, Negro, haplotype, E1, B1A, and all that good stuff. So y'all bear with me. We getting there. I don't like to rush. I like to be very thorough. So however long the video is, that's just, you know, how long it is. You know, we'll get done when we get done, right? But I don't want to ever shortcut you guys. All right. So here we go. It says, after the death of Manathawa King Dingaswayo around 1818 at the hands of Zwadi, the king of the Nwande, Shaka assumed leadership of the entire Manathawa alliance. The alliance under his leadership survived Zwazade's first assault at the Battle of Gogoki Hill. Within 2 years, he had defeated Zawadi at the Battle of Menehizus River and broken up the Nwande alliance, some of whom in turn began a murderous campaign against other Nguni communities, setting in motion what has come to be known as Manafakan, a mass migration of communities fleeing the Zulu. By 1825, he had conquered a huge empire covering a vast area from the sea in the east of Drakensberg Mountains in the west and from the Pangolo River in the north to the Bashi River in the south, not far from the modern-day town of East London. Shaka is well known for the many military, social, cultural, and political reforms he used to create his highly organized and centralized Zulu state. And finally, it says Shaka integrated defeated clans into the Zulu on a basis of full equality, true Hebrew Israelite, with promotions in the army and civil service being a matter of merit rather than circumstance of birth. And there you go. I'm going to include like the very last segment of this history and round this out and speak a little bit about the alleged 3,500, 4,000 year migration, and then we'll end out this section and going on to the next segment. You just want to make sure, get some loose ends tied up before we move on. Okay, just like I mentioned before, information gets real, cloudy and iffy, and they start hemming and hawing and tap dancing when you start asking questions, start researching. Okay, if this Bantu expansion, started about, anywhere between, 3,500 and 4,000 years ago, whatever the case may be, where were these people before that? Because clearly they existed somewhere else. They had to have, right? Let's read this. Let's check out some of the language that they use when you start asking some of those type questions. Okay, it says it is unclear exactly when the spread of Bantu speakers began from their core area, as hypothesized, 5,000 years ago, and in parentheses 3,000 BC, by 3,500 years ago, 1,500 BC. In the West, Bantu-speaking communities had reached the great Central African rainforest, and by the 2,500 years ago, pioneering groups had emerged into the savannas to the south in what are now the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Angola, and Zambia. Another stream of migration moving east by 3,000 years ago was creating a major new population center near the Great Lakes of East Africa, where a rich environment supported a dense population. Movements by small groups to the southeast from the Great Lakes region were more rapid, with initial settlements widely dispersed near the coast and near rivers due to comparatively harsh farming conditions in areas farther from water. Pioneering groups had reached modern KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa by AD 300 along the coast, and the modern northern province encompassed within the former province of the Transvaal by AD 500. Okay, to me, much ado about nothing. But still, I guess to really get to the bottom of where the Bantus came from, we'd have to kind of revert back to the comprehensive E1B1A video, because we know what happened. We know what happened before we started the disbursement and all that. The Roman destruction of Jerusalem and all that. But see, they know that. In order to answer the question, where were the so-called Bantus before this expansion, they would have to take us back to Israel. I mean, no ifs, ands, and buts about it. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. So anyway, we're going to end that there, and we're going to go into the actual, expansion itself, kind of look at that a little bit, some of the languages and things like that, and that'll set up the very last segment, which actually compares the Bantu languages and the Hebrew languages, which are pretty much identical, and then we'll move on from there. Yeah, you just have to be real careful with how they, play with words. Migration is it means to move from, one region or habitat to another. So how is it that you have all these little so-called African movements by the Bantus, but you don't know where they came from, or you don't know where they migrated from? Well, see, I'm calling BS. All right, the Bantu expansion. It says the Bantu expansion is the name for a postulated millennia-long series of migrations of speakers of the original Proto-Bantu language group. The primary evidence for this expansion has been linguistic, namely that the languages spoken in sub-equatorial Africa are remarkably similar to each other. Attempts to trace the exact root of the expansion, to correlate it with archaeological evidence and genetic evidence have not been conclusive. Yeah, I bet. Thus, many aspects of the expansion remain in doubt or are highly contested. The Bantus traveled in two waves. The first across the Congo forest region. The linguistic core of the Bantu family of languages, a branch of the Niger-Congo language family, was located in the adjoining region of Cameroon and Nigeria. Those are two of the main hubs for the slave trade, if many of you don't know. From this core, expansion began about 3,000 years ago, with one stream going into East Africa and other streams going south along the African coast of Gabon, Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Angola, or inland along the many south to north flowing rivers of the Congo River system. The expansion eventually reached South Africa, probably as early as AD. Okay. It didn't say, when in AD, but okay, we'll roll with that. On to the next segment. Next slide. Yeah, I think, but they pretty much painted a nice picture. I mean, when you start hearing buzzwords like, remain in doubt or inconclusive and highly contested, i.e., they know exactly where the Bantus came from. They know that the Bantus are the lost Hebrew Israelites. They know that we came from Northeast Africa. They know all of that, but they're not going to release it. And that's all that means. They're full of mess. But anyway, we're gonna move right along. We're gonna talk about a little bit about the Niger Congo languages of the Bantus. Let's read it. It says the Niger Congo family comprises a huge group of languages spread throughout sub-Saharan Africa. See, that's sub-Saharan. They want to keep us all sub-Saharan. You don't hear nothing about Northeast Africa or, as a matter of fact, I'm going to show you a copy of the L3E, which is the female version of the E1B1A from my mom, and they're the only ones that actually was honest and told you where the L3E originated, which is Northeast Africa. I'll bring that forth a little later. All right, it says the Benue Congo branch includes the Bantu languages, which are found throughout central, southern, and eastern Africa. You notice how they just stay far away from northeast. They just stay far away from that area, man. They don't even say north. It's funny. This is a characteristic feature of most Niger Congo languages, including the Bantu languages, is their use of tone. They generally lack inflection, but grammatical gender is characteristic, with some languages having 24 genders. The root of the verb tends to remain unchanged, with either particles of auxiliary verbs expressing tenses and moods. For example, in a number of languages, the infinitival is the auxiliary designating the future. Okay, cool deal. Moving right along. Okay, as with just about a scholar in any field, whether it's archaeological or anthropological or geological, whatever, they normally have a hypothesis or theories. And at some point, you have to test your hypothesis. In this case, there's some theories on the Bantu expansion. So we're going to read that and end this segment out. And I believe we're going to go into the DNA aspect of the presentation, and then I'll finish it out with the linguistic, the Hebrew and the Bantu language comparison, and that'll pretty much be that. So let's say theories on expansion. It says initially, archaeologists believed that they could find archaeological similarities in the ancient cultures of the region that the Bantu speakers were held to have traversed, while linguists classifying the languages and creating a genealogical table of relationships believed they could reconstruct material culture elements. They believed that the expansion was caused by the development of agriculture, the making of ceramics, and the use of iron, which permitted new ecological zones to be exploited. In 1966, Roland Oliver published an article presenting these correlations as a reasonable hypothesis. The hypothesized Bantu expansion pushed out or assimilated the hunter-forager Proto-Coetian who formerly inhabited southern Africa. In eastern and southern Africa, Bantu speakers may have adopted livestock husbandry from other unrelated Cushitic or Nilotic speaking peoples they encountered. Herding practices reached the far south several centuries before Bantu-speaking migrants did. Archaeological, linguistic, genetic, and environmental evidence all support the conclusion that the Bantu expansion was a significant human migration. Interesting. So if it was so significant, why then can't you hypothesize where the Bantu people originated from before the Bantu expansion began? But you didn't hear that from me, though. On to the next segment. All right, we're headed into the next segment, which is the DNA segment, the really fun part for a lot of you, right? But you know what's ironic about about the DNA part between the Bantus and the Lembas. The Lemba are actually known as Bantu speakers. They're actually known to be from that whole Bantu expansion. So it's really pretty ironic that, you know, they got caught up in all this haplogroup J stuff. You know, I'm going to deal with them kind of in the second part of this segment, but I just kind of wanted to speak on that real quick. The African Lemba are actually known as Bantus or Bantu speakers. So, but more on that on the second part. I kind of revisit the whole DNA situation with them. But right now, let's kind of deal with this. This is from an anthropology blog, pretty scholarly. Let's see what it has. As a matter of fact, let's just scroll down. You guys can stop it and pause if you want to read all that stuff. But pretty much what I wanted to get was, let's scroll down to where it says, in this study, we analyze unique event polymorphism and short tandem repeat variation in non-recombining Y chromosome haplogroups contained within the E1B1A haplogroup, of course, of the Bantus, which is exclusive to individuals of recent African ancestry, in a large geographically widely distributed set of tongue-tied set of sub-Saharan Africans. And they have the groups equal 43, yada yada yada. And then it says all of whom except one Nilo-Saharan speaking group spoke a Niger-Congo language and most a Bantu tongue. There you go. Okay, I kind of wanted to set the tone that this DNA segment of the Bantus or the Negroes is definitely without question E1B1A. And on that note, we're going to move on to the next slide in this segment. Okay, Ham became the progenitor of all the dark races, which would be the Ethiopians or the Cushites, the Egyptians, the original ones, not the ones that got their mixed blood today, it's in power, the Libyans, and the Africans, which their Y DNA haplotype is E1B1B1, but it said not the Negroes. And up to this point, we've established firmly and without question that the Negroes were the Bantus, and the Bantus are E1B1A, or of the E1B1A Y DNA haplotype. So I remember I designed this back when I did my comprehensive E1B1A video. Let's read it. It says this haplogroup is found predominantly among Bantu descendants, to include but not limited to the African Lemba, many West African tribes, though in some southern ones too, because as a matter of fact the Lemba are in the south, the Igbos, the Yorubas, so-called African Americans, West Indians or Jamaicans, Brazilians, Haitians, there's a percentage of there's a Negro Hebrew percentage in just about all nations. Okay, so we would be going forever, you know, on where we're scattered into, because the Most High said he was going to scatter us throughout the four corners of the world. And trust me, there is a percentage in every nation you go to of Negro Hebrew Israelites, and obviously who don't know who they are, right? And then, like I said, you go into the Latino nations. There's a percentage of us in each Latino nation. I mean, come on, because you know during the transatlantic slave trade, you know those slave ships were being dropped off in Cuba and Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic and Colombia and even Mexico, Costa Rica. I mean, you name it. You know, the whole Central America, South America, obviously North America, which is where we were dropped off. And what's crazy is that, you know, we're all related, but they have us thinking that we're all separate. The only difference between all of our nations of Negro Hebrew Israelites, is that we all speak the language of our colonizers. We speak English because that's the language of our colonizer. Puerto Ricans speak Spanish because that's the language of their colonizer, and so on and so forth. Right? But we're scattered all over. The E1B1A is in just about every nation. Don't get it twisted. Okay. You know, I thought it would have been real cool to add some visuals of what, you know, the E1B1A looks like in other nations. These are the Latino nations. This is my man Felix Trinidad from Puerto Rico. You know, and let me just say this, because I've seen a little bit of ignorance out there talking about, just because I'm identifying, you know, who the Hebrew Israelites are, somehow that's a racist ideology. Listen, don't get me twisted with nothing or nobody. There's nothing about me or my teachings or anything racist. Okay, because everyone that knows me knows that I'm the exact opposite of that. I don't preach and teach hate. I preach and teach the truth. And the truth is, Romans 9:27 said, just as you guys are seeing with these pictures, these are Dominican brothers right there, Tego Calderon from Puerto Rico, that the Israelites, because we were scattered all over the four corners of the earth and in pretty much every nation, that in numbers we're like the sand of the sea. That's how many Israelites there are in the world. I mean, just look at our people, man. We're all over. Israelites are everywhere. But the second part to Romans 9:27 says that only a remnant is going to be saved. That's a very small amount. That's a little disheartening. Those right there, those are black Mexicans. Those are Hebrew Mexicans for all intents and purposes. That's what our people looks like in Mexico. Okay, without even knowing their DNA or whatever the case may be, just by virtue of what I know our people should look like in terms of having that Negro E1B1A DNA marker. This is what our people looks like in these Latino countries. So these sisters right here, they're from Colombia. They look like straight Negroes. Okay, I believe these sisters right here, I believe they're from Colombia as well. And these sisters right here, they're from Costa Rica. I mean, look at them. They look like Bantus. I mean, they all look like Negroes. I mean, you wouldn't even know they were in a Latino country if I didn't tell you. They just look like regular Negro black people, right? Which I know how I do. And I'm a truth revealer. I'm a truth teller. Okay, we have everything that we need now. And the only people that's our seeds genetically are the ones who carry the DNA marker or the L3E marker, unless they're a sojourner. And if they're a sojourner, that's fine. See, this is a black Indian. The only Indians that's in Israel are the ones that possess the E1B1A marker, unless they're a sojourner. Okay, but I don't think they want to be that. And this picture right here is indicative of that. I mean, it's a known fact. Native Americans owned slaves, straight up. So I think that tells me all I need to know about them. Unless they, sojourners, or they possess that E1B1A, they're not Israel. And we need to stop teaching and preaching our people that they are. All right, back to the DNA segment. E1B1A, the Bantus, the Negroes. Now here is a nice sample of some of the West African tribes that we are mixed into. And as you can see, by virtue of the high numbers, we got the Bamileke, the Iwe, the Ja, the Yoruba, which is where I descended from, the Tutsi, the Fante, the Mandinka, Ovambo, Singalese, Ganda, the Bijahos, the Balanta, the Fulas, the Hereros, the Nalus. There's a lot. I mean, there's a whole lot of them that's not here, but this is just to give you a good indication of where we're all, scattered into. And the thing is, I want you all to understand, especially you ones that are unlearned to DNA and whatnot. There are E1B1As, or our people, mixed in with Hamites or E1B1B1s. For example, I don't know if many of you have heard of the Biafra tragedy with our Igbo brothers over there, but basically the Biafrans are Shemitic, and they were battling the Hamitic Igbos. So not all Igbos are Hebrews. Many of those Igbos are actually Hamitic. Okay, and unless you kind of had the gift that I had that could tell them apart physically, the only way you would know that is by what their DNA is. I mean, because they're all mixed in. But that's what that whole Biafra tragedy was really about, quiet as it's kept. Shemitic Africans versus Hamitic Africans. All right, so just to kind of give you a idea on that, and let's read it. Let's go down. It says EV38, which is another smaller nomenclature for E1B1A, says it reaches frequency of over 80% in many parts of West Africa, Central Africa, East Africa, as well as Southern Africa. But says this haplogroup's frequency and diversity are highest in the West Africa region. Of course, we all know or should know that. Within Africa, EV38, which is another smaller nomenclature for E1B1A, displays a west to east as well as south to north clinio distribution. In other words, the frequency of this haplogroup decreases as one moves from western and southern Africa toward eastern and northern parts of the continent. And that makes all the sense in the world, because East Africa, of course, you know, that's where most of your Hamites originated, where they dwell. And of course, northern as well, which is Egypt. And we know from earlier when I presented that slide that we ain't in Egypt. We definitely ain't in Egypt. All right. So just to let you brothers know, man, y'all really need to get a hold of it and get these teachings, man, I'm giving y'all, man, because, you know, y'all preaching and teaching that there ain't no Hebrews in Africa and all that. Brothers, I'm telling you, y'all need to get y'all intellect and step y'all game up. I came to teach the teachers, and I don't mean that in no disrespectful way, but it's time to step it up, man. Y'all been teaching our people a bunch, you know, y'all been teaching some good stuff. Y'all been teaching a bunch of mess, man. Seriously, we all over, okay, and we all over Africa, okay, and I mean there's no way around that. And I'm showing and proving that. E1B1A and all of its subgroups. That's us all day. If you claim to be a child of Israel, you have to reckon or establish your genealogy, your bloodline to Jacob. Bottom line. Okay, now here's a screenshot of my DNA results. All right. And you see it's you see the red dots right there. We go right to it. E1B1A 7A, you know, obviously it's a subgroup of E1B1A, all right? And we scroll on over it, and it says example populations, Bantu speakers, dead giveaway, the Negroes, or the lost Hebrew Israelites, that they won't say that that's what they are, okay? I come from that. And so-called African Americans, boom. You know, it's not exclusive to me. You know, all of, you know, majority of you too. I'm not saying all so-called African Americans, because let me I got to say this real quick. I would never say or imply that all Negroes or all African Americans, quote unquote, are Hebrew Israelites, because there were some slave rapes going on. What does that mean? What that means is that if your forefather was a white slave master, then that means you carry his Y DNA. So no, you're not a Hebrew Israelite genetically or by blood. You carry that European's Y DNA, even if your mother is an Israelite. Okay, you are what your father is. Remember, going way back to Genesis, Adam, chapter 5, the Most High set that out like that. You are what your father is. All that, establishing maternal haplotypes or whatever to call yourself Jewish and all that, that didn't come from the Most High. Okay, he didn't set that. All right, so I had to say that real quick. You are what your father is. I don't care how many of you like that, don't like it, whatever. Bottom line. So not every single so-called African American is a Hebrew Israelite. That's why it's imperative you have to find out what your haplotype is. I mean, you claiming to be an Israelite, but you may not be. I mean, you might be just a sojourner. I mean, I don't know. You got to find that out for yourself, though. But anyway, scroll down here and it says the E1B1A is a branch of haplogroup E. Predominates Africa and south of the Sahara, where it spread about, there you go, 4,000 years ago. So that's that Bantu speech, in conjunction with the expansion of Bantu-speaking people out of Western Africa. But it doesn't say, where it originated. Now you just won't find that. And if someone does find out where someone's, is honest and say where the Bantus originated, please let me know. Because I've researched high and low and I can't find, anyone's being honest and saying, where the Bantus originated, just that they expanded. And supposedly the migration was important, but yet they can't tell us where they came from. Right? They can tell us, they just don't want to tell us. It's a big difference there, right? All right, on to the next segment. And please, anyone having an idea of putting some bogus stuff on any of my platforms or whatever about the Bantus, just save your time and breath. I know that they're Hebrew Israelites and they're from Israel. I'm just looking for a website that's going to, be honest and say that. But with that said, here's a copy of my mom's maternal haplogroup. She's in the L3E. And this is the only mitochondrial haplogroup that I can, vouch for. This is like the female version of the E1B1A, and clearly you can just, read it for yourself. The fact that the example populations are, the Bantu speakers and so-called African Americans. There's dead giveaway there. Now, but the only thing is the origin. For some reason, they're more, forthcoming with the origin of the L3E. And it says here, plain as day, haplogroup L3E originated about 45,000 years ago in central northeastern Africa, then spread south with the migration of Bantu-speaking people over the past 4,000 years. Now, why don't they say that for the male side? Just that little piece right there. Why don't they say that? I guess they just don't want to chance it, huh? Yeah, they know where the Bantus came from. They know where they were before the Bantu expansion. I'm not going to even get into all that again. But I think this is gonna close it out for the first part of the DNA side of this segment. Now I'm going to get into the whole DNA thing with the Lemba, and how it corresponds with the Bantus and whatnot. Because there's a couple things going on there. I'm going to address that. And then we'll get into the whole linguistic thing to end out the presentation. All right, hang in there. We're almost to the end. All right, here we go. Here's the second part of the DNA segment. Now, let me set this up. What we're looking at here is a copy of the various haplogroups of the African Lemba. Now, let me let you all know what I know now, what I've learned, vice what I thought I knew back when I first did the E1B1A comprehensive video. Okay, now when I did that comprehensive E1B1A video, at first I couldn't find their haplotypes for some reason. I couldn't find it. All right, but then eventually I did. I found this. I found their haplotypes, and actually this is included in that video. All right, now what's true is, like I said previously, the Lemba are actually known as Bantus or Bantu speakers. Okay, they're Negroes. Without a shadow of a doubt, they are Negroes. That I do know. And what happened is, or let me put it like this. The African Lemba, their nation or their tribe is no different than any other Negro nation. Of course, they're going to have a couple other different haplotypes here and there. But as you can see by this slide, nothing significant. I'll get into that in a minute. But it doesn't change the fact that they are E1B1A. They are Negroes. But apparently what's going on is that if you bump down to the second gold dot, where you see that haplogroup, you see the J. Okay, now scroll to the right. Okay, it says population Lemba. It says they tested 30 African Lemba, but only 6 tested positive for this haplogroup J. Why is that significant? Because that is not a significant number of those who tested for this haplogroup J. Yet, how and why are they hinging this whole cohort modal thing on just 6 people, supposedly out of 30? Okay, anyway, I'll get back to that. So let's go. Let's scan up. Y'all see that first gold dot? It says EM2. Okay, what that is, EM2 is the smaller nomenclature for E1B1A. Okay, those are our Hebrew brothers and sisters from the Lemba that we're looking at. Now, let's compare that. Supposedly of 16 individuals they tested, half of them, 50%, were Hebrew Israelites. Okay, they were E1B1A, seed of Jacob, bottom line. Okay, so that is more significant than 6 supposedly testing for positive for haplogroup J out of 30. And then you look at all the other numbers there. Like I said, they're very insignificant. Scroll down a little bit, another J, another part of J, 2 out of 4, 8 out of 23, supposedly whatever. And I still have not seen any African Lemba that looks mixed, because haplogroup J is a pronounced European type haplogroup. So I see a bunch of Negroes, but that's a whole nother thing. Okay. What I know now, or what I thought then when I did the first presentation, is that I always said that, well, if they are the Levi tribe and they're, they have the Kohen modal, it has to be up under E1B1A, because I mean, it wouldn't be under haplogroup J, because haplogroup J has nothing to do with the ancient Israelite nation, nothing at all. The ancient Israelite nation is haplogroup E. Period. Point blank. Bottom line. Stop the madness. Okay, but what it is they're using the African Lemba, getting in their heads, getting in there, having them with this whole Judaism stuff, and they're basically using them unwillingly and unknowingly, because they have a hidden agenda, because they think that that gives them credibility, right? I don't know what they think they found or what they think they know or whatever the case may be, but what I know is that the majority of the African Lemba are Negroes, are Bantus. They're E1B1A. Okay, they're our people, but they're being lied to. They're being misused. They're being led astray, and they got them practicing this whole Judaism thing. And I mean, it's kind of sad, that they got them like that, but they're in power. They got access to them like that, right? So that's what I know now, or whatever the case may be. So on the next segment, I'm going to discuss I'm going to bring up the whole Kohen modal thing. And let me just say this just so I'm clear. Okay. I don't believe there to be any Kohen modal, especially not if it's attached to anything that's not E1B1A or whatever the case may be. E1B1B, bump. Haplogroup J, bump. Stop it, knock it off, kill the noise, stop the madness. Okay, you Ashkenazi and Khazarian Jews are not Levites. You do not have any type of Kohen modal haplotype. You're not from the Middle East, quote unquote. You're not from the seed of Isaac and Jacob. Knock it off, stop it. Okay, so that's where it is now. They are our people. Majority of them are. Yeah, they have a few other people in there with different haplogroups. I mean, we all do, right? None of us are all E1B1. I just said that earlier, because there was some slave rape. There was a little mixing going on. So, that's understandable in all nations. But I tell you this, for the most part, the African Lemba are our people. But they're being misled. They're being used. They're being lied to. And basically, they're basically using them as pawns. I hate to say it, but that's what's going on now. And no, I don't believe they possess no Kohen modal. Now, rather they're Levi or not, I don't know. But if they were, definitely wouldn't be up under no haplogroup J, or definitely no E1B1B, no bloodline of Ham. But what I want to touch on is just something that's not even being looked at or talked about, is that how I don't see how these Khazarian or Ashkenazi Jews, whatever they call themselves, how they can use the Lemba to help validate them when, I mean, does everyone else see what the Lemba looks like? If the Lemba from the tribe of Levi, or so-called Kohen modal like they're claiming, and they're dark-skinned Negroes, how in the hell are they getting everyone to believe that their pale white skins came from the same forefather as the Lemba did? And no one is talking about that. It's like, if anything, it's like, wait a minute, that should raise eyebrows. Like, there is no way. Listen, without any DNA, we're talking just the eye test. You're not going to tell me that two Snow White looking white people came from the same bloodline of very dark skinned Negroes, because they're from the same seed and same nation. Man, ain't no way, man. Stop it. And nobody's talking about that for some reason. But I'm looking at it from that perspective. Like, if anything, I think the Lemba discounts them. So, but no one's thinking about that. It's like, there's no way those white people came from the same father and 11 other brothers. There's no way, man. There's no. I just want to kind of say that real quick. No one's really talking about that aspect of it. But but just so I'm clear, I'm talking strictly from a genetic standpoint, being from the same seed and nation and bloodline, meaning all of them being from the E1B1A. Now, because remember, without going on a tangent, the E1B1B did default from Esau, right, to E1B1B1, but they're not, but they're not claiming that. They're claiming that they're Jewish. right? So, you know, they're not from the same nation as the real E1B1A. So I'm talking strictly from a genetic standpoint, right? But again, they got the world so blinded and fooled. Nobody really isn't even looking that deep into it, man. I mean, it's like, let's get ready for a long one, man. It's gonna go on and on. And you know, I just thought about this, man. But another aspect is, you know, basically they got the wrong ones in the African Lemba thinking that they're Hebrew Israelites. That's kind of crazy if you really think about it. Because remember, they're not saying that E1B1A is Jewish. They're focusing on haplogroup J and even E1B1B1. So if they took those Lembas that possesses the E1B1B1 by chance and haplogroup J, if they're claiming that they're the Israelites, they got the wrong ones, and again, they're promoting the wrong Israelites to the world. But if my other Lemba brothers and sisters is listening to this, listen, E1B1A or EM2, that is the real Hebrew Israelite haplogroup, not haplogroup J or E1B1B. That's just kind of crazy, man. I guess, you know, the lies just, you know, my grandmother always said, if you lie, you got to tell so many other lies to cover up the first one. So it's like, why lie, right? But, you know, they're perpetuating this great lie, unfortunately, using the Lemba as pawns. Because I'm here to tell you, they got the wrong ones. Again, they got it wrong. And still perpetuating that lie, you know. But the only thing we can do is just kind of keep fighting and keep trying to stomp it out. But anyway, let me go ahead and this is the very last segment of the second part to the DNA part, and you know, then we'll get into the linguistic thing and end it out. But yeah, that's just kind of crazy, man. They got the wrong Lembas thinking that they're Israelites. All right, Y chromosomes traveling south, the Cohen modal haplotype, and the origins of the Lemba, the Black Jews of Southern Africa. All right, in the summary, it says the Lemba are a traditionally endogenous group speaking a variety of Bantu languages. They're Bantus, they're Negroes, who live in a number of locations in southern Africa. They claim descent from Jews who came to Africa from Senna. Senna is variously identified by them as Sana in Yemen, Judea, Egypt, or Ethiopia. Well, first of all, that's like a misnomer. Egypt and Ethiopia should have nothing to do with Judea. So I don't know how they got that combination like that. But anyway, a previous study using Y chromosome markers suggested both a Bantu and a Semitic contribution to the Lemba gene pool. Now, let me speak to that. That Bantu contribution to the Lemba gene pool, that's the E1B1A. That's the actual real haplotype of the Hebrew Israelites. That's the Bantu contribution to the Lemba. Those are our brothers and sisters. This Semitic contribution, that's that haplogroup J madness that they're pushing. That's not Semitic. Haplogroup J is not Semitic. So I'm going to kill that. I'm definitely going to kill it in the next video. I'm going to kill that right now. Haplogroup J is not Semitic. Haplogroup E1B1B1 is not Semitic. Haplogroup E1B1B1 is actually a Hamitic haplogroup. All right, so I'm going to kill that. Now, let's continue. It says a suggestion that is not inconsistent with Lemba oral tradition. To provide a more detailed picture of the Lemba paternal genetic heritage, we analyzed 399 Y chromosomes to 6 microsatellites and 6 bialic markers and 6 populations: Lemba, Bantu, Yemeni, Hadramat, Yemeni, Sina, Sephardic Jews, that's a joke, and Ashkenazic Jews. The high resolution afforded by markers shows that Lemba Y chromosomes are clearly divided into Semitic and Bantu clades. See, oh God, man, Semitic, get out of here with that. Semitic and Bantu. Now, those are Bantus, those are Negroes, those are our people, man. They need to stop playing with them like that. Interestingly, one of the Lemba clan carries at a very high frequency a particular Y chromosome termed to be this Cohen modal haplotype, which is known to be characteristic of the paternity inherited Jewish priesthood and is thought more generally to be a potential signature haplotype of Judaic origin. The Bantu Y chromosome samples are predominantly 80% and include a modal haplotype at high frequency. If anything, I'd be more concerned about that Bantu modal haplotype, if anything, not no Cohen modal, because they need to kill that madness, man. Assuming a rapid expansion of the Eastern Bantu, we use variation in microsatellite alleles and YAP and a bunch of DNA talk, Bantu Y chromosomes to calculate a rough date. Anyway, as far as I'm concerned, much ado about nothing. They're basically telling the truth. I mean, the African Lemba are Bantus, they're Negroes. There's definitely a percentage of our people in the African Lemba. That's without a shadow of a doubt. But apparently, again, what's going on is that they're picking out a few to say that they're some Cohen modal, whatever, haplogroup J, and whatever, to kind of help bolster, their claims. But we know it's not true. Not true at all. So that's that ends the DNA segment. I'm gonna present this linguistic evidence between the Bantu languages and Hebrew, how it's almost identical, and we're going to end it out. So I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. I'm sorry for the length, but you know how I do. I got to be thorough, and I'm not going to ever cheat you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and I did my thing. So let's get on to the next segment.